there tends to be a problem, and every industry has it, every company has it, where you tend to communicate the direction and vision of the business within the leadership, but how is that getting communicated right to the sort of the core of the business or the boots on the ground? And there is ways you could do that through technology or through conferences or video or face-to-face toolbox talks. Communication's the key, because if you're not translating that vision and the values right down, then people are going in all different directions, and everyone needs to be rowing in the same way, going in the same way. So it's about communicating that and having people, no matter what role they're in, no matter what they're doing, that they are a part of the journey. They're a part of the direction we're going in, and that's really, really key.
Hi everybody, Gavin Coyle here. I'm the Gaffer, back again with a great episode, and we have Paul David Munnelly from Munnelly Group, and he's the Chief Operating Officer. So what I want you to think about today is young people in construction. It's a team that's coming up in the podcast on an ongoing basis. How do we attract great talent into the industry, nurture these people and bring them on to the next level to be the next leaders within the construction sector? And Paul is one of those guys that's trailblazing within the construction sector. He's in a very senior position, and he's the right man to talk about this particular subject. Paul, how are you today?
I'm keeping well. Thank you for inviting me down.
Yeah.
And yeah, great to meet you a couple of weeks back, and yeah, looking forward to getting into it.
Yeah, so give us a sense of what your background is. Like, how did you get into construction? Is there a family connection? I think there was some sort of a legacy connection going on there. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so construction has been in our family for sort of generations now.
Yeah.
I kind of actually wanted to not do construction, even though from a young age, every summer, every sort of school holiday, I was down in the yard working in construction. When I left school, I thought, right, let's do something different. Let's see what I can do, spread my wings. And I actually did media production, which is far removed from construction, right? But I guess it's kind of relevant now.
Yeah.
As I said, I kind of went down that path. I actually went to broadcasting. So broadcasting live TV.
Okay.
And it's similar to construction in many ways, in that there's usually big budgets and you've got to get things right at the right time.
Yeah.
And it's high pressured. Yeah. But I'd always looked back at construction on my time in the family business of construction, thinking, you know, there's so much I could bring back, or so many skills that I've learned that I could bring back to construction.
Yeah.
So I kind of always had that at the back of my mind. So when I came out of broadcasting, our family business, started by my father Phil and his brother, they definitely had an established construction business. My grandfather was a gangman. He came over from Ireland for work.
Yeah.
So it was all they knew. Phil started off as surveying, and then he sort of went out alone, as many did back then.
Yeah.
So once I finished my broadcasting side of things and media production, I thought, right, let's go back to the family business. Let's see what we can do.
Brilliant. And I like that angle.
That's where we're at.
Yeah, so that's a really cool angle to come from. So you qualified in media production, did you?
Yes, yeah. Wow. So I got a honours degree.
Well done. In it's funny we should have this conversation, because literally only yesterday I had another conversation with another guest, and we had this conversation about marketing and how construction has, in the last 10, maybe 15 years, definitely made a massive change towards the brand of the brand, and how the perception of the brand, and how his background was finance and marketing, but he shot up really into similar to yourself, because the construction industry was kind of, you know, very slow to sort of bring themselves forward in terms of branding themselves for safety, branding themselves for commercial, branding themselves for bringing in new clients and sales and stuff like that. And you definitely, when you see the billboards these days, there might be something different going on behind it, but definitely from the front, it looks like very fancy and very sharp. And I'm you know, the Munnelly Group definitely, I think, has your fingerprints on it, because there is a really strong brand in that company.
Yeah, I'd say what was branding before for construction? It was the hoarding,
Yeah.
Usually block colors with logo or on PPE. That was about it. Now the industry's changing where they are using more social media. They're using the hoarding now to actually list what they do and their sort of core values of the business. So it's not necessarily just the logo. There's more of a deep dive even on the hoarding. So I think it is important for every company within the industry to think about how they want to look, what their core values are, and how they can portray that.
Well, the perception. It's all about perception.
Of course.
The reality might be different.
Well, you'd hope that the industry would
follow through.
Do as they say. It can't just be all talk and no action. But there's quite a few now in the industry where they are paying close attention and investment into the brand and what their values are. And if they're not doing what they say, they will get called out on it, right? You can't necessarily say, well, we're a real ethical company and not actually follow through on that.
Especially with social media.
Today. Of course.
Like, it only takes one tweet away from, well, they're not who they say they are. And I think that's like, very innovative from your business point of view and from your dad's point of view and your family's point of view, that you've seen that your skill set actually could be plugged straight into the company. How did you have that conversation? I'd love to know the boardroom meeting on that one.
Well, it was kind of the activity. So LinkedIn for the industry is obviously huge, right? And the activity that we were doing years ago, it was actually me and my sister Sarah. It wasn't that you had a lot of traditionalists that thought, actually, why are they posting? Why are they showing their life on there? Why are they showing a big insight into what they're doing? So it would potentially receive a bit of negative feedback. But when actually the brand was getting out there and people could actually see what we were doing, that it was actually a positive change. I felt like that was when there was a bit of a change and more investment, and now that the industry is doing it. Plus, the way to communicate, if there is a skill shortage and an aging population within the industry, how are we going to attract young people?
100%.
And they're on their phones. So it's about giving sort of a voice and awareness for young people to say, actually, the industry is more than what you may see on TV or in the press. There is actually careers here and different skill sets.
And very serious careers as well.
100%. So I think once that was accepted, and once actually that was a way of communicating with young people or a client base or a workforce, I think that's when actually value probably was added to it.
So in terms of being tangible and in terms of, having a metric for your family, what was the metric? Was it, oh my God, we're getting phone calls that we would have never got, or, we're being asked to look at jobs that we would never thought we would get asked to look at? So
I think
how did you measure that?
Yeah, well, you are right. How would you measure it? And I think what we tended to see was that it was very much in conversation. Oh, your Mondelez, or we've heard of Mondelez, or we know Sarah Money, or we know PD. That's kind of how it kind of evolved through general conversation. The industry, as you know, is built on relationships. And often it's the case of, we know you, or you've done this project, or you've released this bit of tech. That's kind of how we measured it.
And you kind of feel, I don't know about you, but when you're in somebody's company, you kind of know that they know. The stuff has been seen, but you don't have to bring that to the meeting. It's nearly like a verification process, isn't it? Or a triage process where, by the way, here's the shop window, and it's not a brochure anymore. It's actually dynamic, and it's something physical and tangible that you can see, and here's what we are, here's what we're about, and here's what we do.
And I think it goes a long way when a company or a professional or an individual is able to put themselves out there and stand by their convictions on it, so that when it actually does come to a more meaningful conversation with a potential client or your workforce, they can actually say, well, they're saying what they're doing. Are they gonna they talk the talk? Are they going to walk the walk now? And I think that's really important.
That is really important.
And I think that by putting yourself out there like that and saying, well, we're doing this, or we want to do this, and actually delivering on that, I think that's a lot more meaningful.
Brilliant. I love that you said that, because number one in my mind, and you can speak to this, is what's the point in being really good at something if nobody knows where you are?
Mm,
I suppose
true.
it's kind of like boom. And then how many people are going to sit and listen to this and go, yeah, I'm a brilliant builder, or I'm a brilliant carpenter, or whatever else. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's
No one
true.
knows where you are.
Yeah.
So
True.
it's irrelevant. In today's day and age, like I was listening to Charlie Mullins from Pimlico, and 90% of his time was spent on marketing. Now he sold it for 147 million, I think, in a couple of years back. But he said 90% of his time was spent on PR and marketing.
Yeah. It's all about eyeballs, right?
Yeah.
And there are lots of eyeballs in the industry, and everyone is shouting at the same time. So it's a case of how are you grabbing people's attention.
Yeah.
And in order to grab someone's attention is potentially by being different or doing something different.
Yeah.
Because, if everyone's doing the same thing, it kind of loses its gravitas, its value, its importance. Whereas if you're able to slightly do something different, whether you call that being a disruptor or disruption, or certainly being a positive disruptor, that's essentially what would separate you from your competition or from the crowd. So I think that's key as well. Making sure you do it in the right way. It's not a case of just doing it to go viral. It's actually saying something, doing it, delivering it, and seeing what the positive outcome is off the back of it.
Yeah. And now that you're talking, I'm actually thinking to myself, construction companies don't have sales departments per se. It's like, when you think about it,
Not really. I
not
mean,
really. Like now they have marketing departments and marketing budgets. They have PR companies. They probably more had PR companies down through the years who put stuff into glossy magazines and stuff like that. Whereas now, you're of an age where you bring in this, I'm going to bring a community onto your doorstep. And then you can kind of, as we say, triage who you want to work with and what kind of budgets that these people can bring in.
Well, what it's like, right? As I said, it's a relationship-based industry. People want to do work with people that they can trust, that they can do the job well, people that they have a strong experience with or strong relationship with, and someone who's going to pick up the phone if it's a Sunday morning and they need something done, so they've got that level of service. So and I think that's really important. So people do business with people, and more often than not, it's usually the leadership within those businesses which they kind of want to work with, because then they're the ones that potentially could pull the strings, pick up the phone, and that sort of thing.
I'm conscious as well, like the Monley Group, what exactly is it? Mixed developments? Is it commercial? Like, is it a mixed bag? What exactly is the extent of the capabilities of the group?
So essentially there's 8 companies within the group.
8
companies. And to really, if an alien was coming out of space and was to land in a field, and if I was to explain it to them, essentially we are a people and technology business.
Okay.
But if you were to take a construction site and flip it on its head, everything that falls out is us, whether that's the site access, the temporary barriers, the traffic marshalling, and then we have the people and the technology around that. And it's not necessarily just the live project. It goes back further to the planning of that project.
Okay.
Right through to once the project's a live building and the maintaining of that building.
So you do that as well?
Yeah, so we have different services and different products which cater for each of those. We don't necessarily just work in the built environment, or vertical buildings. We work on highways, within aviation, within rail, but we are essentially a product and services company for the construction industry.
So it's nearly like a managed service business.
Yeah.
Think about it. I was thinking project management, but now that you've bolted in the facility management, it's kind of. Would that be a fair tag to put on? I don't want to put a tag on your business because it sounds like it is diverse a little bit anyway.
It's diverse, but it is a mixture between packaged works to more of the consultancy side. So it's essentially planning to delivery, but we work as part of the supply chain.
Okay.
So we would work for the tier ones, the main contractors.
Okay. So let them, bid for the job, At what point is it the tier one guys that would bring you in, or would the client say, by the way, we're using Monthly?
Well, we're kind of seeing a bit of a change, not just for us, but just in the industry in general, where the client direct is kind of wanting that real upfront support for design.
Yeah.
And it's not just necessarily within our space, but frames are doing that as well.
Yeah.
So we're seeing a bit of that. But the early engagement now is key. So supporting a main contractor with their bid to win the work.
Okay. Interesting.
With logistics planning and the like.
Yeah.
But also, once a main contractor has that project, they've packaged it up, and then going out to tender, bidding for the work, and hopefully being successful in that.
So would you advise the contractor on the risk profile of the job that they're taking on?
Yeah, I think where certainly construction logistics lends itself to is it's where there's a real built up area, and ensuring that the construction traffic and resource doesn't impact the environment around. And when I say environment, the live industry around that. So
schools and everything else.
Schools and office buildings and things like that. So we do a lot of planning in regarding deliveries of materials, so they're sort of just in time, and there's not vehicles or HGVs idling on the side of the road. So certainly coming from, let's say, if we use London as an example, coming outside of London, going to site and then coming back off, and making sure that's a real safe and efficient way of doing it. So it's the movement of resource on and off site and then around site, and making sure there is no obstructions, that there is no risk there, and waste is coming off effectively as well. So that is risk, because if construction logistics isn't planned correctly and delivered correctly, it can slow down a project. It can make it overrun and just cause all sorts of health and safety risks in itself.
Yeah, you described that really well. So you're obviously on.
I've done it a few times.
You have your finger on the button, but that, like, I can see the clients. I can see why clients would work with you. You're nearly like a buffer. You're kind of the insurance policy for the client to say, we know we've appointed a really good main contractor, but we want to make sure it's done right. And we want to make sure that they're held accountable, and we don't want any potholes in the future that are going to come up and grab us.
Especially when it's a multi-contractor site where there's multi-plots. Where
so many angles for things can go wrong.
And there's one gate of entry, or there's one exit, entrance and egress. So that has to be managed effectively, making sure it goes to the right plots. Because if it's not, it can be quite disastrous. So it lends itself to certain scenarios, but actually we're seeing more and more putting more effort, focus, investment, pre-planning into what that looks like.
It shows you that there's a return on investment. If you do the upfront stuff and get that out of the way, everything else is going to start moving. Like, to be honest with you, like you kind of say to yourself, why are most people don't use that model? Because it really does make sense. It's kind of a no-brainer to have that sort of a model in place.
It does, but sometimes, and the most dangerous thing to the industry is because that's the way we've always done it. Right? So who is prepared to take the risk on that? Because at the end of the day, they're tasked with delivering a high-value project on time and under budget. By going slightly different, there's risk in that in itself. But we're seeing it from a client side, whereby we are supporting and creating construction management plans where the logistics, i.e. the vehicle movements and the resource movements, is a part of the construction management plan, because they can see the value of that.
There's a company that's springing to mind that probably people would never use, and it's definitely in the construction industry, but clients would use them, maybe not construction clients as much. I'm not saying that they don't do construction, but you're nearly like an Accenture of the construction industry, where you have this helicopter view on behalf of the client on how this whole thing is going to get put together. And by the way, have you thought about this, and have you allowed for that? And by the way, your budget won't stretch where you think it's going to stretch, because, or by the way, you've probably put too much money on the table. There's savings here.
I think we're in a fortunate position, and I say it quite a lot, where we are looking from a telescopic view as opposed to a microscopic view, because we work with a variety of different clients across a variety of different projects.
Yeah.
So we kind of have a good view of what works and essentially what doesn't work.
Yeah.
And, they say the industry is fragmented, and there are parts which are fragmented.
100%.
So if we can then try and have a standard or create a standard, then that kind of brings everything together.
Yeah.
So by having that early engagement and having the early planning, that does help. But we are fortunate to be in that position of seeing everything telescopic.
Yeah.
And what works best for certain clients and projects and what doesn't.
So, when I talk to you and you're so on point, you're it's like as if I can imagine you in the office now, where everything is and how things are moving and who's doing what and everything else. You're chief operating officer for a reason. How did you get parachuted into that role? What way did that progression take you? Did you feel yourself into the job, or obviously it's a family business, so we're not saying you got preferential treatment, but there's how do you come up with a role for chief operating officer for Paul David Munnelly? How did that happen?
Well, my journey through the business was I started up in the procurement side of it, so the buying side of it, before we even really had a department, and we set that up, and then I sort of backfilled my role with a leader within that space, and then we moved into the technology side, where it was sort of outsourced technology. Set that up, made sure that was resilient and robust, and then once again backfilled that space. And then I moved into the recruitment side, because obviously we're a big recruiter of people. Before, when it was really done on a back of a fag packet, and we kind of had to put processes in place naturally.
You can't do that anymore.
No, you can't do that anymore. So so we had to put everything in place. Once again, moved on from there, and then we started to be acquisitive, set up businesses or acquire businesses, and I would then be tasked to sort of be the troubleshooter.
Go on.
And
well done.
And then I would sort of put the right people in the right place there, or lead that business, become managing director of the business, or backfill into that space.
Fair play to you.
And then moved around to the point where we've got 8 businesses. Some are startup businesses, some have been around for 40 years, some have been acquired. But making sure that there is that synergy and collaboration across them all. So then the role kind of just became a natural fit, because I had touch points in quite a few areas. And I kind of had that, fortunately, I had that free range role to be able to do that. And I'd be lying if I sat here and said, well, because it's a family business, I was given the opportunity to do that, because I definitely was. But it was up to me then to
deliver,
and the others to, because it does come with a stigma being a family member. It was up to me and the others who are sort of similar to me to deliver on those,
to execute on it.
Well
done, you. I have to say, like when you're talking there, nearly getting goosebumps. I can imagine you going into an acquisition deal and you having to go in and do the due diligence. Do you have any sort of nuggets that you found in that you went, oh my God?
Yeah, there always are, right?
And there always is.
Not every deal's the same. But it's people. People are the one that are going to make it or break it. They're the biggest asset, and you can't go in, because there is a danger that people would say, if we were to look at a company, that we were going to go in and rip the heart and soul out of a company. We're not. That's not. This isn't a Netflix documentary series here. That's not what it's about.
It's not construction nightmares.
No, exactly. We want to retain. We want to retain the talent. We want to retain the values of those businesses
and the culture.
We're not there to be impressionable. What we want to do is support those businesses, because they have a strong amount of autonomy. We want to be able to support those businesses so they can carry on doing what they're doing, innovate, collaborate, and grow as a business.
That's brilliant. And I can see it fitting in there. And it's very true. I can imagine there's a lot of people would be heading for the door if your communication to the staff is not right.
Communication's a big one. Big one.
Bring them in.
Yeah.
This is what's happening. Everybody's going home safe. There's
Yeah.
not everyone's mortgages are safe. Don't be worried about your jobs. This isn't a cutting exercise.
Yeah, because it's scary, right?
Yeah,
It's
Well,
scary.
someone might be there for the last 25 years and didn't know that this was coming down. Because I would imagine that some of the owners are very cagey about, well, by the way, I'm going to sell the business, or
Yeah.
you know, they're not going to tell people that. Did you find that that's a
Yeah.
hurdle that's really, that was the big, would that be a big one of your hurdles?
Once again, every deal's different, but there have been occasions where the communication prior to the acquisition wasn't there, or could have been better.
Yeah.
So
You were left picking up the
when
pieces.
we're coming in, they're like, hang on a second,
Hand grenades everywhere.
what's going on here? It's like selling a football club, right? And the manager not necessarily know that the football club's being sold to an overseas investor or something like that. So
loads of questions, no answers.
yeah, so we had to really get people comfortable. But then there are others where, you know, the leadership have been involved in that.
Yeah.
And you know, there's not necessarily a right or wrong answer.
Yeah.
But it's up to us to make sure that when we go and speak to companies or speak to the leadership, we can assure them that the reason we're doing this is to support and to grow.
Yeah.
It's not just to rip out the core values.
heart.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. You know, we're on this podcast. Me and you have a passionate subject about young people in construction, and you're a shining light of great young talent in very serious positions or very senior positions that are making a massive impact. You know, how do we harness the conversation within construction to bring people through the system? Like, do we start where it's broken and then work the conversation through to how it's going to get fixed, or is it not as bad as you think it is? Or
no, it's
all the data is saying there
Yeah.
isn't staff to meet the production line within construction.
It's definitely bad, right? Because they don't teach any of this in schools anymore. You know, decades ago they would teach sort of carpentry skills and things like that. So there's a problem there. But using mediums like social media is one way of getting the message out there.
Yeah.
I think the young people need to have role models.
Yes.
Of people that look, feel, act like them. That you know, they feel like there is a safe space for them to be able to evolve and grow.
Yeah. But role models need to stand up too.
Yeah,
you
for
could
sure.
be a role model, but not actually doing anything about it.
Yeah, 100%. You have to have a voice, and but as I said, by using mediums like that, I think that's great. I think the dawn of AI is going to help because it kind of plugs the gap in many ways.
Okay, talk to me about that.
So essentially, if they use sort of generative AIs whereby it's an assistant or a co-pilot, so you've got your AI there, right? And you're asking simple questions about the industry. It will plug the skills gap without potentially doing degrees or being on the tools and things like that. So that will help.
Yeah.
That will naturally help.
And it'll take out some inefficiencies out of the current system as well.
Yeah, agreed. So, but there is...
Which allows people to be more focused on what they should be doing.
Yeah, it takes out the tedious... tedious monotonous things. And you know, people are really scared of AI at the moment because they've been disillusioned by Terminator and the like. But
it's been around for years.
It's been around for years. It's there. We've got it in our sat navs, in our
100%
phones. It's already there. It's just that now there's a name and a face to it. And I think people were scared of computers when they came, or the internet, or email. So it's the same thing, but it is going to drive efficiency. So for young people to be able to, who probably are growing up on the use of AI, they will be able to take that and convert that and potentially plug a skills gap there.
Wow.
I believe anyway.
Okay.
But
that's exciting in a way.
It is exciting. Yeah.
You know, especially for, well, I'm getting old now, but it's great to see an injection of innovation that's going to make a difference. You know, and if we can make ourselves more efficient, why not? And I don't think a lot of people are probably overemphasizing the negative of AI into a conversation that doesn't need to be really had. It's not going to replace human beings.
No, it'll be the robots that do that.
Robots do that, yeah.
No, but
there's another podcast for another day.
No, but AI is there to support, just like the internet, just like email is.
There's a balance.
Yeah, you need to embrace it because, we say we're very good in this industry about saying, we need to innovate as much as manufacturing or agriculture. We need to innovate. But then when it comes to innovation, everyone's a bit like, oh, slow down there. So I think AI is key, and I think with young people growing up on that, I think it's good. I feel like having more role models for young people is really, really good. Showing that there are different types of careers in this industry. It's not necessarily working the tools or being on site. It's the back office roles as well are there. Marketing or finance or HR. They're there, and it's good careers. You're working for some great companies as well. So,
but it's the hard grafting on the tools that is kind of the big problem, really, isn't it? It's kind of like those guys. There isn't a conveyor belt coming through of apprenticeships and stuff like that. And I was talking to the colleges recently, a couple of universities, and they had said that, they were getting loads of people coming onto their programs that were being given to them by the larger companies on these sort of programs, graduate programs. So, but when the pandemic hit, all these budgets were cut, and they never re-engaged or turned back on the machine of sending people. And obviously, people were going and doing courses, and they probably would never use some of the courses. But it was like a perk with some of these larger companies, whereas they're not doing them now.
No,
and so you had that going on, and you have probably people doing online courses anyway and picking up what they need to pick up on an online version rather than the universities. So the universities are struggling.
Plus you're competing with opportunities overseas, right? In the Middle East or Canada for people that are skilled in that sense. So
it's survival of the fittest. Whoever's going to solve this problem first, first to market is the one that's actually going to keep the head above water, because I see billboards everywhere now starting to, immigration visa, help with your, we'll get you a job in our country. So there's countries starting to produce marketing material that I see to try and convince workers to come away from their country and move into their country.
Well, you've been to, obviously, in Ireland, right?
Yeah.
There's a huge American terminal with the stars and stripes everywhere, and obviously president of the US is obviously making a big mark on that, and but it's now the competition for this global workforce.
We're all connected.
Is you're almost marketing to them. So it's bringing people to. I remember obviously over in Ireland, a lot of people going to Australia. And to Canada. It used to be to England, but now it's not.
Now it's Australia and Canada, and America.
So anyone who's sort of skilled, engineered, qualified will end up being taken there. So it's there's one big pond, and everyone's sort of fishing from it, and it's actually countries now. With the opportunity. So I do feel that we need to be more confident in this country in regards to what we're doing. With our projects, with the opportunities,
and with the packages, it doesn't have to be pay.
No, of course,
it can be. By the way, next 5 years, I'm going to work with you to be the next leader of Monley Group or whatever company it is. Like, I don't hear enough of those conversations going on. And we had I had a recruitment guy on, and we had this conversation as well. Like, you have to be creative and innovative with the conversations on attracting people into your business now. What sets you apart in terms of the USP for your company? And just don't be coming at me with... kind of lack of substance paragraph, means nothing. Show me that my family are going to be looked after.
You've hit the nail on the head, because whilst pay is obviously super important and the type of work they're doing, the benefits around life insurance, should anything happen to you, me, whoever, that the family are sort of the dependents are looked after. Holidays a big thing as well. People actually want to take more time on to be able to go away with their family and enjoy. I think COVID kind of gave people more of an appreciation that there's a work-life balance, so that's really important. And then also sort of sick pay, making sure that if someone is genuinely sick, they're paid and not have to go about other ways on that. So I think those benefits, and I could ream off three, four,
loads.
But I think that is actually making a big difference as well now.
Yeah, and that's, I'm glad we had this discussion, because that, like, you don't have to be a Fortune 500 company to come up with these sort of creative ways of attracting people, and get into the schools at a very early age and start having conversations with, kids, to say, I seen a fantastic video a couple of years ago. I'll give a shout out to the company ArcelorMittal. Done a video, I think it was French school, where they went into the school and they spoke to the kids in the school, and they were talking about construction with the kids. And they were asking the kids different questions about what their parents did. And a lot of the school kids in this particular classroom, a lot of them were actually in construction. The fathers were in construction. And then they were talking to them about safety. And daddy sometimes leaves his helmet at home. This is like, and because the team around the video was for safety, but it was to show you that your kids have this empathy inbuilt with them, and they see you going to work without the helmet, or forgetting your high-vis jacket, or whatever, something very minimal or whatever else. But like, it was such a powerful video. To get to the hearts and minds of like 8-year-olds and start creating the conversations and the environment and the communications with them. Not really happening.
No. I'm actually going to my old school tomorrow, St. Columba's College. Shout out St. Columba's College.
Go on.
In St. Albans. And I do it every year. So they have this sort of inspiration day, and sort of alumni there go and speak about what they're doing.
Love it.
And weirdly enough, that school, it does have a lot of construction, family
connections.
Yeah. It's almost like in the bloodline. They have other things, but construction's there. And I go in and I ask the question, how many of you have family in construction? And there's the old Irish saying that the farm always gets passed down to the children. And
the first son.
The first son, exactly. And they will say, I'm in construction. And then I say, but do you want to do it? Do you want to get involved in it? And very few are actually saying,
go on.
I would do that. Because I think there's a couple of things they kind of do want to, go in their own footsteps. They might not see the glamour behind it. A lot of them wanted to go into sort of finance and be sort of stockbrokers, things like that. So they might not see necessarily the glamour behind it. So it's up to us in the industry to really set our stall out and say, well, there are careers in this, and it can take you globally. You can see a structure standing for generations. So there is a lot of reward out of it.
And I don't think we probably give kids enough credit for how clued in they are at a very early age. Like it's just when you're talking there, my 10-year-old daughter told me she wants to have 5 McDonald's franchises by the time she starts working.
Not money in that, I'd say. That's not a bad business plan, to be fair.
Then she told me that, did you know they're making 150,000 a year? The average franchise is making about 150,000 a year. I did not know that.
Yeah.
10 years
I knew
of age.
the franchise business doing well. But is your 10-year-old...
10 years of age.
Is your 10-year-old just do they play Minecraft? Because Minecraft is teaching people how to build, which is great.
Brilliant.
So things like that.
Brilliant.
Let's get it in early.
Love that.
It's like the the England football team was awful for a while, so we actually had to go back to grassroots. So we've got to go back to grassroots to actually bring this new breed.
And it will take time.
It'll take time. Then you will have the Fodens and the Bellinghams and the Sackers and stuff like that, but you have to put it in at grassroots for it to come out, because we have neglected it as a country, economy, government, everything. We have neglected it. And we've allowed other countries now to be a lot more competitive in that space.
It's no truer statement, 100%. And we probably relied too much on immigration as well, without getting into the whole immigration discussion. But we probably ramped up the dial on immigration and sort of didn't really look at the homegrown stuff as much and say to ourselves, because like, I'll give you an anecdote. I had to go to visit a site in the UK a couple of years ago, and we were doing a kind of a survey gap analysis, very large company. And one of the things we were looking at was the pay slips. And we brought in, labourers, on the floor type workers, let's just call it that, within construction. You would be amazed the amount of people that didn't understand how to read the payslip in terms of the structure of the payslip and why they were getting paid a certain figure this week and why it might change next week. And I'm not talking about because they've done more hours.
Yeah.
They didn't understand the flow of the tax.
Was that understanding or was that language barrier or just the general tax system?
Oh, it was understanding.
Yeah.
100%.
But that's why AI, though, this is what I'm saying. So there is even contracts. There are a lot of business owners that go into contract and they probably don't fully understand the risk around contracts, pay slips, type of engagement for a worker.
Yeah.
How do we improve understanding? And definitely using social media to improve it, explainer videos, animations, summary sheets on the front of contracts or pay slips.
Yeah.
But AI, once again, can improve things because they're not going to teach how to read a pay slip in school.
Yeah.
They're not going to teach managing your tax in school.
Yeah.
So it's having using the other platforms to be able to do all of those things.
Love it. And like, what's wrong with having scholarships back again? You know, you don't have to be, you know, a 1 million turnover business to offer a scholarship to some kid who probably doesn't know exactly what he wants to do or she wants to do.
Yeah.
And next thing all of a sudden, there's an opportunity here because my mother and father won't be able to put me through college because it's just not an option. And next thing, this local branded company, as you say, comes in with a scholarship. Like, I don't hear that. I don't hear people talking about stuff like that. Like, I don't see the academy.
No,
I suppose is what I'm trying to say.
No.
I don't, like, as you say with Jude Bellingham and all this, great analogy.
Yeah.
Where's the academy for construction?
It's not. We're an outsourced country. We feel that actually let's just outsource everything.
We're agency
That's
based.
it. That's it. So it's
even not even it's not even outsourced. It's gone down the agency route so much that there's one invoice going into the recruitment agency and then they're just onboarding whoever they think is suitable for the job.
It's filling bums on seats. But when I meant outsourced, I meant the workforce was outsourced from overseas, and we do need to definitely attract overseas talent for sure, but we also need to grow our own talent.
Yeah,
very much at an early age.
Yeah,
I do like the idea of skill sets being transferable from other
100%.
industries, and I think that's important as well.
Yeah,
because we don't want to be a vacuum of just doing it one way. We have to kind of have to spread our wings and actually understand
and learn more.
Yeah, but we have to put it in at grassroots, and it is speaking to schools. It is raising awareness, using all the platforms, all the media we can do to get that out there.
Yeah,
having academies within companies, big companies that actually breed people through, and I think that's massively important.
Yeah, I'm not saying that people don't have a graduate program. They do, but like there's graduate programs, and then there's like, you know, full on, you know, within the construction sector, active model that's, you know, construction. And I don't think the branding is there from the construction industry in general.
No,
that has this awareness, because it's a massive problem, and I'm glad you came in today to talk about it, because it is something that really is resonating with myself and obviously yourself, and obviously you're a clear indication of, you know, give a young person a chance and here's what the result can be for that. It's
proven, and we go back to obviously the football analogy, and it's quite similar. High performance, big budgets. You know, we're dealing with big budgets here. By bringing young people through, that is definitely the answer.
But is there I had this conversation with a young guy in Canada who's going to be on the podcast shortly. He's a project manager and he's doing really well for himself, very young age. And there's a bias, and there's the old school guard are closing down the doors, and sure, what would he know or what would she know?
I don't know if it's as much anymore though.
Is that gone?
Because I feel like with the with the opening of a more inclusive industry, and by having sort of, as I said, media channels, it's kind of forced companies to actually be way more considerate in how they operate.
And sustainable.
At the same time, are sustainable. So, you know, having a diverse workforce, there is a huge amount of reports and data to say that having a fresh pair of eyes improves performance, productivity, success of a business. So I don't know. There is definitely an aging population and definitely sort of an old guard, but I feel like more so than ever, it is way more receptive to bringing on a positive change in the industry. Well, at least I hope. And everyone that I've spoken to kind of feels the same thing, feels the same way, but providing what we're saying, we're doing.
Yeah,
because it can't just be lip service.
Yeah, this is an immediate risk to the business.
Yeah,
and to the industry.
It has to do it. So I feel like there is definitely a stigma of young people because they feel, well, you're not actually experienced, so what would you know about handling a big budget or a big project?
Yeah.
But by trusting people in those positions, they will get better results.
Yeah,
they will get good results, and I think that we shouldn't be afraid to fail, because if you're not failing,
you're not learning.
You're not learning. You're not pushing yourself. But it's about, if you do fail, get back up. Yeah, keep going. And I think that's what this industry is really good for.
Yeah.
And I think for young people, they shouldn't be afraid to fail.
Yeah.
Well, anyone should be afraid to. It's failure is not bias.
But fail in a safe environment.
Yeah, of course. Fail quick.
Fail quick. Fail in a safe environment that you have this mentorship model within the business to say, and I don't see enough of that either. And I'm probably sounding a bit negative, but like at executive level, they're getting one-to-one coaching. They're getting executive leadership courses. At the ground roots level, it's kind of, CITB this and SMTS and whatever else, Safe Pass, whatever's coming up, they're giving them that sort of level. And it's only kind of entry level stuff.
Yeah.
It isn't discussions about, by the way, what do you want to do with your wealth and your independence and your growth and your family, and where do you see yourself in the next 10 years and stuff like that. And Gavin, people might say Gavin's talking absolute, spurious stuff. Some of these guys only think Monday to Friday. Where are you going with this? But I think you'd be very surprised if you sat down in a conversation with somebody at the interview stage and say, by the way, I'm going to put this guy with you or this lady with you. And
buddy system. Creating that buddy system. That's what you need. We've got it going at the moment, back at the group, but having that buddy system, making that induction better.
Yeah.
Making sure that they know exactly what the contract says and does and what the benefit system does.
Yeah.
And communicating, because, there tends to be a problem, and every industry has it, every company has it, where you tend to communicate the direction and vision of the business within the leadership, but how is that getting communicated right to the sort of the core of the business or the boots on the ground?
Yeah.
And there is ways you could do that through technology or through conferences or video or face-to-face toolbox talks.
Yeah.
Communication's the key.
Yes.
Because if you're not translating that vision and the values right down, then people are going in all different directions, and everyone needs to be rowing in the same way, going in the same way. So it's about communicating that and having people, no matter what role they're in, no matter what they're doing, that they are a part of the journey. They're a part of the direction we're going in, and that's really, really key.
Yeah.
And it's something that we've done a lot on the last couple of years, and especially the last couple of months, in regards to how we're going to communicate to everyone.
Yeah.
Those vision and everything. Our core values are trust, collaboration, innovation, but making sure everything we do ties back to those three core values.
Yeah.
Because that's key.
How do you float all the boats at once?
Yeah, like a flotilla.
Yeah.
Like a flotilla.
Did you just say that?
Yeah, there's eight companies. Instead of being a barge, being dynamic and going all in the same direction.
Yeah. Brilliant. Paul David Munley, I have to say you're an absolute legend, and I can see why your business is a success with the likes of yourself, and also that you've recognised, how do you future-proof your own model, your own business model. So you talk the talk, you walk the walk, and I really appreciate you coming in today.
Thank you.
To have that conversation. Do you give speaking engagements, or do you talk to? How do you, if someone wanted to talk to you about this subject, or just reach out to you?
So, looping back there, I can only do what I do because I've got amazing people around me, right?
Yeah.
I don't profess to be able to know everything or do everything.
Yeah.
I don't think Elon Musk can fly a spaceship to Mars, or Richard Branson. We probably can fly a Boeing 747, but having talented people around me allows me to do what I do. So I have to have a big shout out to those people, because we've got some amazing talent.
100%.
In regards to how to get in contact, LinkedIn is probably the easiest way.
Yeah.
Paul David Munley.
There's not many Paul David Munleys, I don't think.
No, well, I actually had to chuck David in there. It's actually my middle name because my uncle's also Paul Munley.
Okay,
so,
right, okay.
So yeah, so if you don't get through to me, you'll probably get through to him. But no, Paul David Munley on LinkedIn. Drop me a message. I'm really keen just to talk to people about anything, really, just kicking.
As long as it's construction related, obviously.
Yeah, of course. If it's construction related, or just people that want to get into construction.
Yeah. Or if people want to have a conversation about this conversation.
Yeah, of course.
In terms of how do you bring that on to the next level.
Yeah.
I'd love maybe even if you come back in the future.
Yeah.
And maybe have a discussion around, where are we at?
Yes.
At that point.
Yes.
Because that'd be an interesting conversation. And I'm interested to see how your model works and how you've created different innovations to do this.
Well, we've got a lot of things going on at the moment. So by then, there should be a lot more gravitas and traction in some of the things we've just launched or we just done over the last couple of weeks. So I definitely would love the opportunity to talk about those positive outcomes. Yeah. And to actually say, take risk. Anyone can do this. We can just
learn and
innovate.
Give back, and let's work at it as an industry rather than in silos.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Paul, thanks very much.
Appreciate the time.
Yeah, take care.
Thank you.